What if I told you that almost everything that we prioritize about health is actually out of order? You can live weeks without food, days without water, and even minutes without oxygen, but you can't live a single moment without the connection between your brain and the rest of your body. So why is that the last thing that we look at? We live in a world that's absolutely obsessed with optimization. New supplements, new protocols, new health routines that promise more energy, more focus, and more health. And I'm not against any of it, but I started asking a different question. What can the human body survive the longest without? Because to me, that question reveals the true hierarchy of health. Most people start with food, then water, and then oxygen. But there's one system that continually gets ignored, and it's the system that controls all of it. And that realization is what completely transformed the direction of my life. All right, look, for a long time, I was doing what most people do. Not only was I trying to get myself healthy, but I was also trying to get people healthier inside of a system that was only designed to manage problems and symptoms. I was teaching, I was eating clean, I was working out, I was doing all the right things, but there was still something that didn't sit right. The more I studied the body, the more I learned about the brain, there's something that became so obvious that was missing. The nervous system is the very first system in the body to develop. It guides the development of every other system in the entire human structure. So why was no one ever looking at it? And if they were waiting until someone had an issue or a problem or a symptom to check the nervous system in the first place. I started asking the question, what if schools had school chiropractors instead of school nurses? Where a kid, if they were having an issue, could go and get adjusted rather than going to the nurse's office for a medication. How much more successful would a kid in school actually be? How much better would their test scores be? How much better would their focus be? How much less trouble would a problem student get in if they had a school chiropractor that they could see regularly? Not to treat sickness, but literally to increase resilience, to help kids regulate stress, to help kids' brains better adapt before a problem shows up. But ideas like that don't come without a cost. One of the things that I realized is that I didn't know enough about the brain to effectively teach families about the most important system in their body. And the cost was that in order to learn more, I had to quit my job, I had to sell my home, my wife had to quit her dream job, we had to move states, and not only that, but start over financially. And the hardest part of doing it all with my wife, Heather, is that we had no guarantees, we had no certainty, and we had no safety net. My transition from teaching to get my doctorate left me learning something very powerful about the nervous system, is the immense amount of pressure that stress puts on that system. And here's what I learned. Most people don't realize the amount of stress that they are actually under. Thoughts, traumas, toxins. They don't just affect how you feel. They affect how your brain communicates with the rest of your body. And when that communication is off, no supplement can fix it. And no diet or nutrition can override it. In practice, I kept seeing the same pattern. People would try everything for 10, 20, 30 years, stuck with the exact same results. Not because they weren't disciplined and not because they didn't care, but because their nervous system was locked in survival mode. And the reality is that you cannot heal in survival mode. Health doesn't start with inputs. It doesn't start with your nutrition. It doesn't start with your exercise. It doesn't start with your hyperbaric oxygen or other hacks. Health actually starts with a well-regulated, well-developed nervous system. When the nervous system is regulated and it develops in the proper order, the body knows exactly how to adapt. That's why when we built Nexus Family Chiropractic, we stopped chasing symptoms and we started assessing how the brain was actually functioning. And we have watched so many people change. Not overnight, not magically, but consistently. When the nervous system wakes up and it's well regulated, the body will do exactly what God designed it to do. So if we're gonna rank health honestly, the order would look like this: food, water, oxygen, and first and most importantly, we would have to address and assess the brain-body connection and how well regulated someone's nervous system actually is. If you get the order right, everything else is going to become easier to sustain. If you've been doing all the right things, but somehow you're still feeling stuck, maybe you're not failing. Maybe you're just starting in the wrong place. If this resonates, comment order below, and I will send you a link to our brain body assessment guide that will walk you through the exact steps that can show you on your own at home how well regulated your nervous system is. Because once you see it for yourself, you can't unsee it.